no less far behind their Western counterparts, as I said. The organizers wanted me to also talk a little about our own work. So all this is done by my students. So this is part of the work, and for the last 20 years, Ministry of Science and Technology, DST, SERB, has been funding us consistently. One of my pet passions is to look at the anti-cancer activity of neem. This is a medicinal treasure of the Indian subcontinent. Every part of the neem tree has medicinal value, whether it is leaves or flowers or bark or roots. And uh, it is used as a biopesticide. It prevents soil erosion. It's used as a fertilizer. And we were interested in looking at the anti-cancer effect. There are other pharmacological attributes. More than 300 different bioactive compounds have been isolated from neem. And still there is so much of work that is ongoing. As the botanical name implies, Azadi indica, Azad is free, Diract is tree, and it means Azadiracta indica, the free tree of India. It belongs to the Indian subcontinent, and then it has, you can see the map on the right side, it has spread to several different countries across different continents. So as part of the World Neem Organization, I happen to be the regional director and scientific coordinator for this organization. We seek to promote neem for sustainable livelihood. The organization trains especially women to get their own livelihood by growing neem trees, making products from neem, and using neem as eco-friendly solution for the various problems. Neem is known as the tree of the 21st century. And this has also been recognized by United Nations. We are part of the United Nations Global Compact. The next slide, please. So just to, our tryst with neem began way back in the early 1990s, and along with turmeric we tried because that's traditionally used, and then we went on to look at neem per se alone. So we were able to demonstrate that neem leaves exert chemopreventive potential in the oral cancer animal model, in oral cancer cell lines which are maintained in the laboratory, in oral cancer, in breast cancers, in gastric cancers. There are others who have also done a lot of work on neem in different cancers at different sites. Next one, please. Then we were working a lot on neem leaf, and because that is available throughout the most of the year. And we did what is known as activity guided fractionation of the neem leaf, a laborious process. You go through a lot of solvent and finally identify which fraction has activity, which can be used as anti-cancer agent, and then we go on to identify the phytochemicals present or the compounds that are present in that particular fraction. So having done the activity guided fractionation, we were able to identify a few of these fractions. Next one. We then went on to do a phytochemical characterization using a panel of techniques like HPLC, HPTLC, itroscan, and mass spectroscopy. We found that repeatedly in most of these samples, we found that much of these active fractions had nimbolide as a predominant constituent. Now, at that point in time when we were doing this, there were only one or two papers, one from Japan, one from Thailand, where people were looking at nimbolide, not many, and no one was doing any work on animals per se. So we were quite interested in this particular compound, nimbolide. It's a limonoid, and it's got an alpha beta keto structural element, which is possibly responsible for the anti-cancer effect. We wanted to go deeper into the mechanistic way in which what type of molecules it is able to modulate, how it prevents cancer, and what are the pathways that it is going to target, pathways as well as molecules it targets to prevent as well as work as a therapeutic agent. So the last 20 years we've devoted to looking at this particular compound nimbolite, which is found in leaves as well as flowers. Next one, please. So I'm not going into the details because I know all of you are hungry and angry. I thought we already crossed lunch time. Anyway, this is better than after lunch you come back and you're happy and sleepy. So I'm sure I can catch your attention at this point in time. Just to tell you that we used cellular models. We did in silico analysis, we did molecular docking, molecular dynamic simulations. We looked at the targets that gave us a clue of what nimbolide is going to target. Then we went on to cellular models where we used a panel of cancer cell lines, liver cancer, breast cancer, then oral cancers and so on and so forth. Then we went on to animal models, breast cancer, oral cancer, and so on. And we were able to establish that nimbolide is able to target number of molecules which have a key role in acquiring the hallmarks of cancer. Now, what are the hallmarks of cancer? A cancer cell is able to proliferate, divide excessively, uncontrollably. It is sustained proliferation. It is able to avoid, and during this cell division, it acquires certain mutations which are deleterious to the DNA. And if this is replicated, it can cause DNA damage, which can lead to transcriptional errors and then eventually to tumor development. Now, those cells that have suffered damage must either be repaired or they must be stopped from proliferating, or that if that is not possible, they must be forced to commit suicide by a process called programmed cell death. So we also looked at some cell death molecules, and we found that interestingly, nimbolide is able to cause specifically death of cancer cells, but not of the adjacent normal cells. And it also inhibits, prevents what is known as angiogenesis, new blood vessel formation. Cancer cells, as they grow bigger and bigger, cancer cells are essentially parasites. They try to take all the nutrients, oxygen from blood so that they can survive, glucose, everything that is needed for life. And but as the tumor grows, it gets cut off from the blood supply of the patient. So the cancer cells make their own blood vessels, a process called angiogenesis. Now, many of these phytochemicals like nimbolide are capable of blocking new blood vessel formation, cutting off blood supply to cancer cells, and inhibiting invasion, restricting the growth of cancer cells to the primary site, not allowing secondary tumors to form, a process called metastasis. Cancer cells also have the property of resisting drugs. So when a drug enters a cell through the help of certain molecules, so what happens is cancer cells tend to push the drugs out. So this is called drug resistance, and not just one drug, multi-drug resistance, or MDR as it is called. Nimbolide we found is also able to block this, sensitizes cancer cells to chemotherapeutic agents. So these are some of the interesting findings. The process is still ongoing. We are looking at other pathways and signaling. So it inhibits number of the oncogenic signaling pathways to prevent acquisition of hallmark capabilities of cancer. What is a trademark of a cancer? That it is able to block. So it's certainly a very promising anti-cancer agent. We are looking to get this patented. We are working towards that. Next one, please. May I have the next one? So finally, I would like to say a very, very big thank you first to Ministry of Science and Technology, Department of Science and Technology, DST, and SER Science and Engineering Board. Very, very big thank you. Starting from 2001 till September last year, 2021, spanning 2 long decades, my group has been consistently funded by SERB DST, and a number of students, MSc students, MPhils, and in particular PhD students have gained a lot of, equipped themselves with the technical and scientific skills to take up a career in research. Of the 21 PhD students, unfortunately, only 30% are men. 7 of 21 were girls, and I would like to thank each one of them, all the students. I tell my girl students particularly not to feel that no, they are not to be gender conscious, that they are capable of multitasking and doing things much more meticulously. That has been my observation, much more meticulously than anybody else, even the boys. And I insist that they don't demarcate. This is not girls' job. This is what boys should be doing, heavy duty stuff. So they should be helped around. I said, whatever maybe like lifting heavy weights, doing whatever work in the lab or elsewhere, going to the airport, getting things, imported chemicals, coming back in dead of night with the experimental animals. All this they should do along with the boys or even alone. They've done it. And today they are in very important positions overseas. Most of them are postdocing in very prestigious institution. Subhapriya is so Selvam, Bhuvaneshwari, Shubhapriya. She's continuing her Vijay Lakshmi is with AstraZeneca. So Vinodini, I want to mention her particularly. When she joined me for PhD, she was already married. She was in her mid-30s, had an 8-year-old a daughter. But with all the grit and determination, she completed her PhD, had a number of papers to her credit, and was resolved to very strong in her determination to go overseas for training. And she's in the US doing exceedingly well. Vidya Priyadarshini, one of my star performers who did a lot of work on NEEM. All of them have dabbled with NEEM and the constituents. Sophia, she did her her PhD and left only in 2019. She is in the University of Tulane. She did excellent work, something that we have not attempted before. She was able to do all by herself. I'm grateful to all these students, but for whom I would not be talking to you people today. So my message to the young girls, the participants who are listening is, if you have decided to take up science as a career, throw yourself into it, heart and soul, full spirited, no half-hearted things. So fall in love with what you're doing. You will never regret it. And I heard a speech by a person who went to Antarctica. Nothing is impossible for women. Simply fantastic feats that women are capable of. So wish you all good luck. Thanks a lot for the opportunity. It's been my pleasure to be in it.
Thank you so much, Dr. Nagini, for sharing with us the eminent Indian women scientists, giving a glimpse of everybody and their achievements and contributions as well, starting from worldwide scientists and the women in forefront from India. Thank you so much, and touching upon the eminent women contributors from Andhra Pradesh in particular. And thanks for sharing that at our backyard.
Yes, I did my schooling and up to BSc in Anantapur, Andhra Pradesh. Just one fact I would like to mention here. Cancer Institute was headed by Dr. Shanta. She passed away recently. She is an icon. She dedicated her, she was not married. She was married to cancer patients and for the development of the Cancer Institute, which treats patients free of cost. A very simple, humble lady who's highly knowledgeable. My presentation today is dedicated to Dr. Shanta, who has always been my icon and my mentor. Wherever she is, lives in the heart of cancer researchers and students who are well placed all over the world.
Thank
A
you for
great woman, cancer researcher and doctor.
yeah, thank you so much for mentioning about Dr. Shanta. I'm happy to share that I met her personally in Cancer Institute, Chennai, about 15 years ago. And thanks for sharing that at our backyard we have a treasure of medicines. That is me, and congratulate for working on that. Thank you so much for sparing your valuable time, Nagini. We are
My
very
pleasure.
happy to listen to you. And I will take on to Professor V. Padmavati, who is next to our institution, neighbor institution from Sri Venkateswara University, Tirupati, working in the Department of Organic Chemistry. And Professor Padmavati started her career as an assistant professor in 1992 and continued as associate professor and professor since 2009. She is heading the Department of Chemistry from 2021 onwards. Her research interests include synthetic organic chemistry and bioorganic chemistry, and several of our faculty from biology related subjects are collaborating with her with very good, remarkable publications, I should mention here. And to her credit, she has handled successfully 11 research projects. You will hear about that soon, and published over 262 papers. And it is remarkable that her citation index is 3,520 with H index of 30 and I-10 index of 90. And under her guidance, 33 people got PhDs awarded. Among some of the rewards she has received, she is INSA Visiting Fellow, Indian Institute of Sciences, Bangalore, as early as in 98, and Meritorious Teachers Award recipient in 2000, postdoctoral researcher at Phelps Cancer Institute, Philadelphia, USA, and Teacher of Excellence Award by SV University in 2009. UGC BSR one-time grant awarded by UGC New Delhi 2013. Very few people are lucky to obtain that for their contributions. Lifetime Achievement Award in Chemistry by Venus International Faculty Awards 2019, and she is a fellow of AP Academy of Sciences from 2019. Thank you so much for accepting our request and being with us. Padmavati, please go ahead with your presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalpana, for your nice introduction. Good afternoon to you all. Is it audible?
Yes.
Good afternoon to you all. It is my pleasure to have an interaction and share experiences with eminent personalities on this occasion. Next slide, please. I am going to present a brief gist of my achievements during the last 30 years of my journey. I started my career as lecturer in 1992. Since my specialization is in organic chemistry, I started doing research on the synthesis of bioactive organic molecules and study their activity. I have successfully completed 10 research projects and one project is ongoing, and I have 33 students awarded PhD under my guidance. Next slide, please. As a postdoctoral researcher, I did work with oncology department at Phelps Cancer Institute, and as an INSA visiting fellow, I had an opportunity to work with late Professor A. Sri Krishna Garu at Indian Institute of Science, Bangalore. And I have international collaboration with the Department of Oncological Sciences and national collaboration with SNR Pharma Industries, Hyderabad. Next slide, please. I can say without the financial assistance, it is highly impossible to carry out the research. For this, I am highly thankful to all the funding agencies, Department of Science and Technology, Council of Scientific and Industrial Research, University Grants Commission, and DAE BRNS for their generous funding. My special thanks to Department of Science and Technology, who has encouraged at the budding stages of my research as an young scientist project by awarding the Young Scientist Project, which was like a boost in my career. Next slide, please. 33 students awarded PhD under my guidance. I have represented the women students in red color. Next slide. All my students are well placed in India and in abroad. Next slide. Just for a glance, I am here with presenting the women students here. Dr. R.P. Sumati, she is now as an analyst in pharma industry USA. Prem Kumari as scientist in pharma industry UK. Rekha as postdoctoral fellow doing her postdoctoral research in South Korea. The one who I am mentioning here with black color, they are the faculty in different colleges and universities. And M. Swapna, she started her own pharma industry in Hyderabad. Divya is now working as chemical assistant in Customs House Lab, Chennai, and Lakshmi Teja as in a pharma company in Chennai. Next slide, please. Coming to my research highlights, I have started my research in the synthesis of biologically potent heteroaromatic compounds. So I have observed some of these aromatic compounds, heteroaromatic compounds are used as drugs, and the compounds, they are having a very simple heteroaromatic moieties like isoxazole, thiazole, and imidazole. Next slide, please. This oxazole, pyrazole, and pyrrole. So these are all heteroaromatic rings linked to different functional groups. And so I tried to to synthesize these heteroaromatic analogous compounds which are currently used as drugs with a variety of functional groups. Next slide, please. During the process of my research, I have developed a new route for styryl sulfonyl ethanologues and enzyme systems by the decomposition of selenodiazoles under microwave irradiation conditions. And we have used this reagent, chloramine T, for the synthesis of heteroaromatic compounds, the key step of our research. And we found while we are using this reagent, first we reported that this reagent can be used as a reagent for aromatization also. And also we traced out some unusual reactions of this chloramine T with Arald oximes. So particularly when it is made to react with Arald oximes, thereby we have to make some alternative arrangements for the construction of the heteroaromatics adopting green synthetic methodologies, particularly those compounds which are having very sensitive functional groups. Besides this, I am also involved in the synthesis of B-secotaxanes, which are the starting compounds for taxol synthesis by an enantiospecific approach. And we have reported these coumarin carboxamides we synthesized in our laboratories as the reagents which arrest the best breast cancer cell growth. And also we have synthesized styryl sulfides and sulfones, and we found that their activity is similar to that of the aspirin. And our compounds, they have high selectivity towards COX-2 enzymes. They have high selectivity towards these COX-2 enzymes. In fact, COX-1 enzyme amongst the COX-1 and COX-2 enzymes, COX-1 is friendly, whereas COX-2 causes inflammation. So here our compounds, they selectively inhibit the activity of COX-2 enzyme, and these compounds are in phase 3 clinical trials. And we have adopted green methodologies for the synthesis of most of our compounds, eco-friendly methodologies like using ionic liquids, ultrasonication, and microwave irradiation methodologies. And at this juncture, I would like to thank the Department of Science and Technology for their generous funding to procure this highly sophisticated ultrasonicator, microwave oven, and also infrared spectrophotometer. Next slide, please. The essence of the research is published in 262 publications, And these are some of the important publications during my research program, which I have published in highly reputed and with high impact factor journals. Next slide. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for giving this opportunity. I am highly thankful to Vigyan Utsav organizers for arranging this program under Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav program, and also I am thankful to DST and other funding agencies for molding the young women scientists all over the country. And my special thanks to Professor Aparna, Member Secretary APCOST, the initiator of this program, and also Sri Padmavati Mahila Viswavidyalaya Vice Chancellor, Professor Jamuna Madam, Professor Kalarani, Professor Uma Maheshwari, for providing a chance to share the experiences of my career. Thank you very much. I hope I have finished my talk within the time.
Thank you, Professor Padmavati. We really appreciate the achievements you got, and we wish you to reach greater heights in your career and serve beyond your limits. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for being with us. And I now move on to the next session, a very brief session. I'm sorry for the time delay, but very quickly we will go through. I request Dr. K. Lata, ICMR fellow, HRD scientist, VHR women scientist from Department of Psychology. This section is dedicated to the beneficiaries of DST and other science and technology funding, and they are enthusiastic to share their feelings, or they wanted to share their experiences with all of us. So we will dedicate a part of time of this session for them. So over to you, Dr. Lata.
Thank you, ma'am. Myself, Dr. Lata Kasaram, working as a ICMR HRD women scientist under the mentorship of Professor Jamuna Duguru, the Honorable Vice Chancellor, Sri Padmavati Mahila Vishwavidyalaya, Tirupati. I recently received a grant of 25 lakhs from ICMR and previously from UGC 35 lakhs and ICSSR 20 lakhs. So total of 80 lakh rupees I received from 3 different funding agencies. I would like to acknowledge myself to the funding agencies, especially the ICMR HRD, for the generosity in funding this women scientist team. My present research is on effect of home-based interventions in restoring functional health among older adults, with the specific objectives to examine the effectiveness of home-based intervention programs for improving functional capacity and reducing falls among older adults. And the next objective is to assess the feasibility and acceptability of the intervention programs among older adults. Coming to my publication part, I published 3 books and 25 papers in various peer-reviewed UGC CARE and Scopus reviewed journals with an impact factor of 5.75 and citation index of 12. I presented 12 international papers and 46 national papers and 17 workshops training programs. Gaining all this academic expertise and research expertise is really possible only because of a timely release of the grants from funding agencies. This women scientist team, especially the ICMR, is one of the toughest and one of the prestigious scholarship for the women in the field of science with intense scrutiny. Why? Because only one candidate has been selected from each state. So I am very much honored to be the recipient of this award. The progress of women in any society is largely dependent upon the advancement of the position of the woman in that society. The government of India and the state already has taken a countrywide challenge to reduce the worriness of the gender disparity in the field of science. My research results would be helpful in the development of the partnerships with NGOs and other communities across India, and also to advocate the programs and policies for supporting healthy aging. And the last but not least, I came from a native village of former Vice Chancellor Gilwani Madam, which is a small village, a bordering village between Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh. So now I am one of the ideal inspiration for the other girls in my village who are interested to continue their career in science. Thank you very much. Because of the time constraint, I am signing off. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Lata, for sharing your experience. And at this point, I would like to mention that recently Department of Psychology has been started only last year to facilitate the women in the area, and also we are taking help from the experienced scientists like Dr. Lata in teaching those departments. Thank you so much. Then I would like to call upon Dr. Rekha Adimulam, who is a recipient of DST Inspired Fellowship. I would like to ask her to present.
Good afternoon, one and all. I am Dr. Rekha Adimulam, DST Inspired Fellow, May 2014 to April 2019, under the guidance of Professor P. Sharma, Department of Biosciences and Agriculture, Sri Padmavati Mahotsav, Tirupati. I received total sanction amount of 18,50,000 rupees. Objectives for Inspired Fellowship to carry out the taxonomical survey and exploration of freshwater bodies and collection of algae, identification and preservation of algal species, generate a database on freshwater algae of Tirumala Hills, chemical screening, DNA sequencing, and nanotechnological studies in selected microalgae. Next slide, please. Next slide, please.
Next slide. Just change this. You can change and talk. Go ahead.
Fellowship achievements and contributions. I have awarded PhD degree on December 2020 entitled Systematic Studies on Freshwater Algae of Tirumala Hills, Chittoor district of Andhra Pradesh. My investigation identified 216 species of freshwater algae which are first reported from Tirumala Hills. Among them, 137 species are new records to Andhra Pradesh, 12 species are new to India. I have done biochemical and phytochemical analysis on 3 macroalgae. They are Cara brownie, Natella hyalina, and Hydrodicta reticulata. And I produce silver nanoparticles from Cara brownie, Natella hyalina, and Hydrodicta reticulata, which have the ability to inhibit the growth of both positive, negative, and bacteria. Due to identificational difficulties, I go for molecular phylogenetics for identification of Cara species and identified as Cara gelanica and Cara foetida. I have published 8 papers and 1 paper is accepted for publication. 3 papers are submitted for publication. Among them, 3 are Scopus Indexed Journal, 2 are Web of Sciences Indexed Journal. I have presented 2 papers in seminars. I am presently working as a guest faculty in the Department of Biosciences and Agriculture, Sri Padmavati Mahotsav, Tirupati. I am very much thankful to DST for sanctioning this fellowship. Without this fellowship, pursuing my PhD would have been difficult to me. I fellowships involves regular visits to the collection sites in Tirumala and Talakona Forest. As a part of my research work, I have visited IIT Madras, IIT Bangalore, and Alcapa University for instrumental facility and uses, instrument facility and training. All these expenses are met from the fellowship grant, and I bought several books for identification of algae members, which are expensive. I am very much fortunate to having these fellowship. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rekha. Rekha is another best example of representing rural women who, with the confidence, now is executing her role as a guest faculty and a researcher. Thank you. Congratulate you, Dr. Rekha. Thank you.